Hello everyone, I'm the Good Fellow and welcome back to Reddit's No Sleep. Today we're going to continue user Coureherritt's story about his son and the shadow. This post is titled, "My son told me he's been having trouble sleeping. I decided to film him. What I found in the morning chilled me to the bones. Part 2. My name is Matt. Please remember it. I never thought I'd be making a part 2, but here I am. The last 12 hours have been a total roller coaster of emotions, and I haven't been able to have even a second of sleep for the last 18, ever since I woke up. Let me begin where I left off last time, my parents' house. I never once tried to explain to them what I had seen or experienced. I knew they wouldn't understand. They wouldn't even try to understand. They were always big skeptics of the unknown, always thinking there's a logical explanation to everything. And in this case, there was one too, even if there wasn't. My parents woke me up at 1 p.m. They thought I'd wake up by myself, but I didn't. I startled awake to my father's worried face peering down into my eyes. "I thought you wouldn't wake up," he said in a concerned tone, then cleared his throat and started walking off. "Go shower." I got up, feeling like I hadn't slept at all. My body was completely exhausted. I felt different, almost like something was missing, a big part of myself. I tried to remember what I even was doing in my parents' house in the first place. Then I remembered setting up my phone to film me. I remembered the shadow, but I couldn't remember why I tried to film it. The footage captured by my flimsy phone camera, with no way to properly enhance it, was useless to me, and it didn't film anything noteworthy. I decided to check my phone and found thousands of your notifications and my post from that Friday. That post that I don't remember writing. Jason? A son? I have a son? What? Questions flooded my mind as I read and reread the words I didn't recall writing. I frantically drove back to my apartment, not really sure what I was looking for. I explored every room and found my parents' son's room, tidy and clean. A couple of superhero posters on the walls, a desk with a laptop on it, a bed with Marvel design covers. My head was spinning, a horrible migraine, so I popped a pill. Jason? Jason? I had written that I had a son named Jason. I took out my phone and called my dad. "Hey Matt, what's going on? You left so urgently." "Jason, do you remember Jason?" I huffed into the receiver. "Jason? No, can't say I do. Is that a friend of yours? Did something happen?" he replied thoughtfully. "Fuck," I thought. "No, never mind, thanks Dad." I hung up before he could say a word more. This clearly fucking says I have a son named Jason. Jason that is in a coma. I went through my phone. There were no pictures of a 14-year-old boy anywhere on there. I looked all around the house. No photo albums. Absolutely no evidence of him ever existing here, besides a child's seemingly untouched room. My heart was aching. My head was spinning. The feeling of missing something, but not knowing what it is, like it's at the tip of your tongue. It was unbearable. I found a death certificate of my wife and carefully read through. It clearly fucking said that she passed while giving childbirth. So where's the fucking child? Why can't I remember him? I remember her clearly. I rummaged through the house, making a total mess of it all, but in the end I found nothing. No birth certificate, no old documents or teacher's notes or doctor's appointments. I collapsed on the couch in the living room, feeling exhausted, my eyes heavy. But something was tugging at the back of my head not to sleep. So I picked up my laptop instead, and that's when I rediscovered the camera footage I talked about in my last post. I saw him. I clearly saw my son, Jason, who I didn't remember, climbing into my bed at 3 a.m. I saw the shadowy thing or figure, his skeletal hand hovering above him. Then, going forward until the morning, I saw myself screaming and shaking him awake, but he never woke up. I rushed to the hospital I thought I might have left him in. I needed to see him. "Jason, I need to see Jason," I said to the receptionist, out of breath. "Jason? I don't think we have a patient named Jason here," the young lady replied, not looking up to me. "A 14-year-old boy in a coma?" I questioned. "Oh, his name is Jason? Are you a guardian?" "What?" I whispered under my breath. "I need to see some ID, please," she continued. I pulled out my passport and handed it to her. "Do you have his ID as well?" I stuttered. "I don't." "Then I'm afraid I can't let you see him." She finally looked at me, looked into my eyes with this regretful look. "Look, wait, I have proof he's my son. I have videos of him living in my apartment. Let me go get my laptop from my car," I said, and before she replied, I scurried away. And would you fucking believe it, my laptop was fucking gone. There was literally no evidence of any break-in to my car. I didn't go back in there was no point. I took out my phone and read the post again. I needed to make sure I wasn't going insane. It sure as hell felt like I was. How is it possible to forget you have a child? How is it possible the rest of the world forgets it too? I saw a couple of direct messages, and one of them caught my interest. "I know what you're dealing with." It might have been a troll, but I had nothing to lose, so I wrote back, "Please help me." I drove back to my apartment, thinking of sleep the entire way there, but a voice in the back of my mind kept telling me not to. "Do not sleep," it warned me. "You will regret it." I observed the sorry state of my crazed apartment as I felt my phone vibrate in my pocket. I put on the kettle for a coffee and checked the messages. This is an entity straight out of your worst nightmares. It enters your life like a parasite during sleep paralysis and inches closer to you, draining your life force itself as it does so. The following message came in. It preys on you when you are at your most vulnerable, in a state of sleep. The longer it's attached to you, the more tired you will feel every night, and the more life it will drain out of you, until the usual healthy amount of sleep can no longer recharge your body. That's what happened to your son. His energy ran out. He needs more sleep than ever before to be able to wake up, and it won't let him. This thing, it can divide itself, keep its victims paralyzed so they cannot wake up on their own, and once you're weak enough, they can't be woken up by anyone else either. It'll continue draining on him until the day he dies. This is absolutely fucking crazy. I recall this shadow, this eerie feeling of someone constantly watching me, and I also wrote about it in my last post. "What's it called?" I asked, and then right after, "And how in the hell did it erase someone from existence?" "It's complicated. I'll give you an address. Come there, and no matter what, don't sleep." I put the address into the GPS, and it's a 1.5-hour drive. I stocked up on coffee and got into my car straight away. The entire drive there, I felt the presence at the back of my neck, and I could see slight shadows moving at the corner of my eye. But when I looked towards it, everything was as still as ice. After the excruciating 1.5 hours were over, I sent the mystery man a message. "I'm here." The address was of an old, almost abandoned-looking house. I stepped out of my car and headed to the front door. Before I could knock, it swung open, and an elderly, homeless-looking man with a long, dirty beard and grayed-out hair stood there, looking me up and down. "Sir?" I asked, and he motioned for me to come in. The inside of the house was nothing like the outside. It was clean and tidy, and every nook and crevice was lit up with blinding light. "They can't exist where there's no shadow," he said, as if expecting my question. Every piece of furniture was made out of see-through glass. There was not a single object that could cast a shadow besides us two, and even then the lights took our shadows out. He motioned for me to sit on the ground. "Try to straighten out. Allow no shadows to be cast by your body." I sat down with my legs stretched out and my arms beside me. He sat across from me, mirroring my position. He looked at me for a long moment, and I was having a hard time concentrating. The lights were unbearably bright. As I was about to speak, he did so first. It has no name. He looked wishfully to the ceiling and then continued. There are many that visit you in your sleep, some good, some bad. Sleep paralysis is a logically explained occurrence of your mind being awake, but your body not. However, it's not as simple as that. It's not that your mind is awake. Your mind is between being awake and being asleep. That in-between is where these demons lie in wait, in the darkness. Most can only scare you. They can't cause any harm. But there are a few, like the one in your hands, that can cause a lot of hurt. How do I get rid of it? I asked in disbelief. He motioned with his hands to the house. Once he lets himself in, only light can keep him away from you. Did you not sleep? Still being sore from the long drive here, I instinctively crossed my legs. The man looked at me with such intensity that only my father gave me when I misbehaved as a child. Don't make shadows, he warned again, and I uncrossed my legs. I do, he explained. I sleep in bright light. Over time, its connection to you grows faint, eventually losing interest in you. How did it erase the existence of my son? I asked after a long moment. I can't remember him at all. Jason, was it? He asked, and with a nod continued. That I do not know. This thing doesn't have that kind of power, which means you might have more than one of these things in your hands. His eyes widened as he stood up. I can't tell you any more. You need to leave now. Why did you even invite me here? It doesn't matter anymore. I answered enough questions. Make sure there's not a single shadow in your home if you wish to survive. And I'm sorry for your son, but it seems like he's too far gone. After he basically threw me out, I sat in my car for a long moment. I decided that I wanted to see my son, so I started the car up again and drove all the way back into the hospital's parking lot. By the time I was back, it was 11 p.m. again. A new receptionist sat at the desk, and I tried to explain my situation as logically and as best as possible. So please, just let me see him. Even through a window is fine. She looked at me with a conflicted expression. Fine. You only get 5 minutes. She led me to his room, and there he was, the boy from the videos, laying there in darkness. I observed him through the window, wishing to remember all that he once meant to me. A shadow moved in the corner of my eye, and I followed it. A dark silhouette was in the room with my son, as if hiding itself in the corner. Hey! I screamed, and the receptionist came running back. There's someone in there! She rushed into the room and turned on the light, and I was right behind her. There was nothing there. She sighed a sigh of relief. You need to go, sir. No, please, you have to believe me. There was this shadow. I saw it, I swear. Calm down, sir. There's nothing in the room. That's when my emotions burst and I just started crying. The receptionist led me back to the lobby and I just sat down and sobbed. After all my tears dried up, I got back on the phone and looked at the Reddit post again. Then I decided to ask for help with an update. If anyone knows how to make the world remember, how to make myself remember of his existence, please, for the love of God, tell me. I can see the nurses sharing hushed whispers as I sit here in the lobby writing this. Chances are they'll kick me out, or worse yet, lock me up. My name is Matt. If it takes me, please don't forget me like I forgot him. I want to remember. And that's going to do it for today's video. Thanks for stopping by and listening, everyone. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe and leave a like on this video. It really helps me out a lot. Sleep well, and I'll see you next time.